Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of He Speaks, She Listens. And on this episode, we are talking about hearing the voice of God and delving deeper into that, but what it means to trust Him even when the vision doesn't seem as clear. So, for our first scripture, it is Psalms 32, verse 8, and I'll be reading it in the King James Version. And it says, I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye.
And in the Passion Translation, I will hear the Lord saying, I will stay close to you, instructing and guiding you along the pathway for your life. I will advise you along the way and lead you forth with my eyes as your guide.
Then we have Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6. And it says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths.
And in the Passion Translation, trust in the Lord completely, and do not rely on your own opinions. With all your heart, rely on him to guide you, and he will lead you in every decision you make.
So as we get into the mindset of letting God take the wheel and being the forefront of our actions and what we do, let's get our minds right with our affirmations.
All right, affirmation time. Yay. All right. Thank you. As always, repeat after me, guys. God leads me step by step into my purpose.
God leads me step by step into my purpose.
I am brave enough to walk by faith.
I am brave enough to walk by faith.
Even the unknown is safe when I'm with God.
Even the unknown is safe when I'm with God.
That is powerful.
I know, they're so good.
That's Psalms 23 right there.
Right. Getting into our first question, when God calls you into the unknown, what fears do you have to surrender, and what truths do you hold on to in order to move forward?
For me personally, I think, hold on, sorry, I'm trying to get the verse that I wanted to bring up. But for me personally, I am a very comfortable person. And so I like to be comfortable. I don't like to be moved when I'm going to be moved into an uncomfortable position. I like to know what's going to go on. I like to know the people I'm around. And so, I think that typically tries to hold me back from stepping into another situation or position in my life. But I had to deal with this 2 years ago because I was at a college that I loved. I was at the beach. I knew all these people. I had success at the place that I was at. And so I was like, but I had to leave after 2 years. And so I was just annoyed. I was like, why would you bring me to a place that is so, by the beach? And I'm like, now I have to move on. And so the Lord, I was praying during the time that I had to transition. And the Lord was telling me I wouldn't take you from a place and not put you in a better place for you and for my kingdom. And so that's not who the Lord is. He's not going to take you from a place and put you in another place and it not be better for him and his kingdom. And so that's just kind of the truth that I stood in. Also, Psalm 34:10, it says, the young lions suffer and want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. So I stood in the truth that I will be lacking no good thing wherever the Lord moved me to. And so wherever I was at, whatever position I was in, whatever people I was around, I knew that I was not going to lack a good thing because that's the promise that the Lord promised to me. Yeah. And so that's just the truth that I stand on, is that whatever I'm taken from and put into, the Lord has good intentions in mind. The Lord has me in mind, and it won't be less than, because the Lord never takes you from less than. He always moves you to more than. So that's that's the truth that I stand in when the Lord moves me from one place to another.
Okay, and that is the She Podcast.
That is it.
No,
Come on in here and preach, girl.
That was great. Do you have a go-to method? No, I'm sorry. That's the wrong question.
Share a time. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Share a time obedience brought unexpected blessings.
Whew. Well, I can remember, and I'm going way back, and I know this is a youth podcast, but this is the only time. After I had 2 kids, I thought I was done.
Baby.
I thought I was done. And I was scheduled to go get a C-section. And I had made up my mind, 2 is enough. I got 2 under 2. I'm done. I'm driving in the church. We had a meeting going on. Matter of fact, Pastor Hankins was preaching during that week. And I'm driving in, and God said, I'm not done with your womb. And I literally cried. I cried. Oh, yeah, but that's the unexpected.
But at the moment,
I what I wanted was I was done.
Yeah.
But God wasn't done with me. And I'm glad that I was obedient because she's sitting right
Wow,
here.
what a testimony.
Ain't that a testimony?
That is good. And Layla has, I feel like, touched so many lives through her playing softball.
I mean, and if I had time,
I'm not trying to make it seem like it's so, but you have spread the gospel, and I feel like people have been influenced by it.
And had I been selfish, and because
Yeah.
of what I wanted,
Right.
and not being obedient to what God needed for the kingdom, she wouldn't be sitting here.
Absolutely. What helps you obey without having all the details?
I think for me, it's trusting God more than my control. So some people who may feel like they need to be in control of everything might be a little bit harder trusting him without knowing all the details. But we're talking about somebody that loves you more than you love yourself, deeper than, anything. Somebody who knows everything that's about you, somebody who cares for you, somebody who's always there, who knows the plan before you are even here. So for me to fully put my trust into somebody who knows me better than I probably know my own self is so much easier than trying to, depend on somebody else or depend on my own ability to be able to do something, versus it just makes it so much easier. So like the more you hear God's voice, the more you follow him, the more you obey him, it's easier to do. He just shows you time after time that, he can't fail. He always pulls you and brings you out of any situation that you come up in. So how could you not trust somebody who's never let you down?
Right.
That's good.
That's good.
Come through.
That's tea. How do you stay anchored when you're unsure?
For me, the main way to stay anchored is to stay in his word. You deal with different situations. We all do. Everybody deal with different things. And sometimes in the midst of something, you might feel like it's only me. But I like my main statement I like to give people: you're not the first and you won't be the last. To deal with certain things. And so we don't always have the answer or the final view of how we're coming out of this thing, or how God is going to handle it, or how he's going to change it.
Right.
So in order to stay sure of who he is, then you have to stay in his word. His word clearly tells you who you are and how things are supposed to turn out for you.
Yeah.
And so daily, you have to daily stay in his word. You have to daily give him an opportunity to uplift you, gird you up, and reassure you of who he is.
Yeah.
But you're not going to know who he is if you don't study who he is,
Yes,
or make studying his word a permanent part of your life.
Right.
That way, when you come up against something, I don't have the answers, but I know what God said.
Yes.
I don't know exactly how this is going to work out, but I know who God is.
Absolutely.
And in the midst of having that assurance, you can walk through any situation you face.
Right.
Absolutely.
That was very good.
That's very good.
That's tea also. How can you encourage others to trust God's plan? And I feel like the way that you can encourage others to trust God's plan is just always encouraging them to be anchored into the word. I feel like you all pretty much answered this question, but it's just remembering who God is, remembering his character and how he loves you more than you love yourself. He knows you better than you know yourself. And so when you're able to get to a point where you yield, it's easier to trust God's plan for your
And
life.
being consistent with your actions.
Yes.
Because people watch you.
Exactly.
Your best testimony is how you live
how you live
How you live your
Yes.
life.
and
Absolutely.
people watch that, people see that, and I think that can be an encouragement. I see her walk through it,
Yeah.
and she never faltered in her
More
faith.
than what you say.
Right.
Right,
Right,
more than what
you say, for
Yeah.
sure.
Absolutely.
I think people are always watching, especially when you carry Christ and people know that you're following Christ. They're trying to see how you're going to react to a situation. So I think the way that you carry yourself within a situation, people know what's going on in your life sometimes. Like, I know I relate everything back to softball, but when I was playing softball and I wasn't doing good, people were watching how I was going to react. Was I going to slam my bat down? Was I going to throw my helmet? Or was I going to say, okay, the Lord is faithful and whatever he needs me to do, I'm going to do it. And so I think it's just knowing the position that you're in, knowing the weight that you carry, and understanding, like, no matter what, I'm going to follow Christ.
Yeah.
And you have to do that regardless of the situation. Same thing with AT, like she was saying, you may not always understand the situation, but you always understand his character. You always are given the ability to understand his character.
Who he is.
And so I think that is important, like always knowing that his character is sovereign and he's consistent, and just staying the course when things aren't going right. I think that is important, and that encourages people, is watching your reactions.
Yep, I agree. Moving into Ask She, and remember, you can always send in questions, and it's anonymous, so you don't have to feel ashamed for what you're asking. We're all here to help and give the best advice that we can. First question is, how do I handle fear when God asks me to do something big? Not all.
I go to the word.
I was just about to say, God is not giving me the spirit of fear. So even sometimes scared, you got to do it.
You gotta do it.
Especially if you know if it's something he's instructing you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and one of the greatest stories is David and Goliath.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
do it scared.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes that fear causes you not to trust your own ability. Doing something and moving in
Humbles you.
it humbles you.
Yeah.
And now you know, okay, I have to totally put my trust in God.
Yeah.
And so it causes you not to move out in who you are.
Right.
Yes.
And more so trust in who he is, because without him, I can't do it.
Right.
You know?
And I want to add to that, don't allow others' opinions to deter you from what God has already told you.
Absolutely.
So if you know for a fact that this is what God is telling you to do, you shouldn't allow other people's opinions, or I don't think you should do that, I don't think you should act that way. Don't let that deter you from what God has already told you, because it's God at the end of the day, not these people. And they ain't got to live with what you choose to do.
Listen, read the next question, because what you're talking about goes straight into that next question.
Okay, what if my friends and family don't support my faith decisions?
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
You just answered it.
Love
I
them.
did.
Walk in love.
Yeah.
You don't have to beat people over the head,
Yeah.
because that don't work anyway.
Yeah.
But like Chantel said earlier, walk it before them.
Yeah.
God is going to show himself strong through you.
Absolutely.
Walk it before them, and they will see him through you.
Yeah.
You know, I always tell my kids in the morning before they get out the car, go let your light shine.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Your light shining is a better testimony than you running your mouth,
Yes.
Amen.
you know.
And I mean, just read the story of Jesus. Jesus every day
That's what I
combating
was saying.
somebody.
Yes.
The
His own
Pharisee.
family
His
sometimes
own-
ain't
right.
even believe in him.
Exactly. And he stood in what God told him. He stood in the course that God had put him on, and he persevered in that because he knew what his purpose was. But it all starts with knowing who you are. So if you don't know who you are, you can be easily wavered. If you don't have a strong foundation, you're easily wavered. So you have to continue to know who you are, build your faith by studying the word and knowing who God is, so that you can stand on business.
Right.
And Noah was given huge instructions, and I know them people
Said he was crazy.
said he was
Job.
crazy, right? So there's so many people
had everything
that you
falling
can
down.
get
His wife was like, "You not tired yet? Like
Right.
still giving God praise?
Right.
Yes, because
Right.
my God is faithful. So it's just being able to be strong minded and be strong willed about what God is doing for you, and having a love and a faith to continue to go that course
Right.
with God.
Right.
So the last question is, how do I keep moving when the path seems unclear? And we've answered this, but we can
Trust
just
God.
reiterate.
Trust
Trust
God.
God.
Trust God.
So
God.
sometimes it's not even meant for you to see the whole bigger picture.
It's not.
Because you'll mess it up.
you'll
You'll
mess
mess
it
it
up.
up.
Yes.
You will. So
With
he
your
gonna
own
take you
ideas
step
and
by
your own
step.
plans, how good I am,
Exactly.
and, you know.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, let's get into our journal prompt for this week. And it is, what is one area where you need to take a leap of faith this week? So take time, really think about, what is God calling you to do? Not so much just what is my purpose, but just it could be something simple, like maybe God is nudging you in a certain way. So just take these 2 minutes to really think about what God may be nudging you to do this week.
Okay, and now it's time for our Bible study moment. Using our Spiral Bibles, once again, you know, the Spiral Bible is created for you to be able to take notes and put it in anything that comes to you while you're reading, any questions you might have or anything like that, you write it into the side of the Spiral Bible. This week, our Spiral plan is week 12, and it's Luke chapter 19 through chapters 24. It's about the crucifixion, the last days of Jesus' life. It's really important to read this and see, first of all, the sacrifice he made, but also Jesus faced things deeper than what you're facing now. But he faced things also, and he walked through it because he knew the assignment that God had given him.
Yeah.
So this just shows us we're all going to face things sometimes, but we have to walk the path we've been given. Absolutely. And we're going to come out victorious on the other end. So take the time to read these chapters and jot down some notes, some things that connect with you, some things that you see when you're reading it. And also, they're supposed to...
Purpose points?
Yes, to get their purpose points. To get your purpose points, make sure you go online and let us know that you did this and the journal, right?
Yes.
And you get points for it.
Great job, Sean.
Yes.
You did great too.
You did.
Last week. Anyways, that is a wrap for this episode of He Speaks, She Listens. Remember to follow us on all social media, and that is Gensalve. That is GENSALVE. And I want to leave you with remembering that God is always there. God is always speaking to you. You just have to continue to go the course and go the path. And so adventure with God also requires you to have faith. So be strong in your faith. Be strong in your decisions to go according to God's purpose for your life. And remember that you can do this and you can conquer this week. So we'll see you next time on He Speaks, She Listens.